my name is Svetlana. I'm one of the art teachers at Art School of SFA, and this is a short overview of the adult art course. Our adult art course called Key Elements of Fine Arts because it covers everything that artist needs to know. It is a sequence of 12 classes plus demo that goes from the color mixing and proportional sketches to the drawing person from life or from imagination. So let's take a look at those classes. During the demo class, we will be working on the color mixing. You know that you can buy a lot of colors in the art store, but those might be not necessarily the colors that you will need. So we will actually focus on how to create the exact color that you need. And we will work on the fruits and vegetables, something that you should have in your house. And we will work on the basic shapes, but we will try to get exact colors that we see in front of us. So these are some examples of the paintings from the demo class. Our lesson 1 is a silhouette lesson, and we will learn the essential way of how artists look at things. So we will work only on the overall shape of things and proportions. For the 2 hours, we will draw things from the basic shapes as vases or some toys toward the more complicated shapes like humans. So these are some examples from the lesson 1 drawings. Some of them are shaded just for you to see it a little bit better. Our lesson 2 will focus on 3D shapes and how to represent them on the 2D surface. And that we're gonna do by sculpting them with the help of lights and shadow. So we will focus on 3 basic shapes: sphere, cylinder, and a block, and try to make the shaded drawings of them and maybe some compositions of them during the class. Our lesson 3 is dedicated to perspective. Everyone heard about it, but not everyone knows how to use it in their drawings. So we will focus on 1-point, 2-point, and 3-point perspective. And as an exercise, you will do interior sketches of things around your house using those perspectives. And we will also talk about how to avoid mistakes and what are common mistakes are. So these are some examples of the sketches for this lesson. Lesson 4 will be about composition. We will talk about main compositional schemes and what to do and what not to do to create an effective composition. We will also reverse engineer famous paintings to see what compositional tricks they use to make it so effective. So these are some sketches from that lesson. Lesson 5 will be a very fun lesson. We're still going to talk about composition like in the lesson 4, but this time it's about the abstract art. So even if you know how to draw people, animals, or things very well, it is still a combination of the two-dimensional shapes and various colors and darkness on your paper. So if you can't organize those shapes very well on your paper, the artwork may fall apart. So that's what we're gonna do. We will play around with paper cutouts and backgrounds and try to find the right balance to express something on the paper in our composition. So these are some examples of this class. Lesson 6 and 7 is when you're gonna put together all this knowledge gained from the previous lessons. You will create your own still life, from the compositional sketches to the final touches on the canvas. And the bonus, you will actually set it up by yourself. So these are some examples of finished projects from these lessons. Lesson 8 is the next step, human figure. Even though human figure looks like a crazy amount of different curves, the understanding of the basic structure under those curves will help you a lot when you try to draw a person from your imagination. So we will cover anatomy of the bones and the muscles and basic human figure proportions. We will draw a front, back, and side view of the human. And toward the end of the class, we will sketch human figures in different positions. Lesson 9 will be dedicated to human head and neck. So we'll talk about the anatomy of the head and neck. We'll talk about the proportions and positions of the details like eyes, nose, lips, and ears. And we will create a shaded drawing of the plaster head. So these are some examples. Lesson 9. Lesson 9 should be prepare you for the lesson 10, which is a painting of a portrait. We will use the photo reference, or if you're lucky enough to have a model in the house, please use the live model and paint a portrait. So these are some examples based on the live model or a reference. Lesson 11 and 12 will be dedicated to your final project. It can be anything, painting or drawing. It can be a portrait of someone you know or your pet. It could be a landscape or a still life or even abstract art. You can gather some references for this project, but please do not use as a reference professional photograph because we want you to actually work on the composition, on the lighting, on the color scheme yourself, and not to use something that's already figured out on the photograph. But you can use your own photographs if you want. And of course, it can be a copy of the existing artwork. This work should be your original artwork. So this is it. These are our 12 lessons and demo class, overview of our adult art course. And